Let's go. All right. Thanks for being patient, y'all. Been trying to figure out how to set up my streaming session up to get some audio. Speaking of which, let me get that started real fast. Did not want to be speaking to the void and be awkwardly quiet, so we're gonna make this happen. So I'll be checking the chat both on Twitch and LinkedIn. If people join, I know it's New Year's Day, so Happy New Year's. Decided to kick it off learning some Kafka. One of the key things for this is that, transitioning to data engineering, I am a data engineer now, and really trying to upskill and really improve my ability to work with different things. I'm starting a new job where Kafka is going to be really important, so I'm super excited. I've been talking about streaming data for a while now, and now I feel like I'm at a point where I can start jumping in and learn the infrastructure behind that. So in this stream, it's not going to be a how-to Kafka, but more so, how do you approach, as you upskill in your career, learning different technologies? You may have zero knowledge. I kind of have limited knowledge of this so far, and you may not know where to start, right? This is my process for learning new things. I use it in grad school. I use it in my career throughout, and now I want to kind of show you how I approach learning things. So you can follow along if you're watching this live, or if you are watching a recording, which I'm doing right now as well. And so let me show you. Let me switch over to the coding screen. So we'll see right here, I have a repo, Learning Kafka live stream, where I basically break down my process. So at a high level, in this repo, I'm going to have the resources I'm referencing to learn, summaries of my learning, code with documentation, and then the recording of this live stream that I'm recording right now. Again, highlighting, not a tutorial for Kafka, but more so how I approach learning new things. There's probably going to be some mistakes I make. I'm going to come across some errors, and I want you to see me coming across errors and how I debug and work through that. Think of this as kind of like a pair learning programming session with us together. In the repo, if someone does bring attention that I did misinterpret something or have something wrong, please provide that feedback. I'll fix that in there. So real quick, before we dive into the code and like breaking things down, let's discuss kind of what is my learning process when I do things. And so when I learn a new technology, one of the first things I do is how can I get a high level understanding as quickly as possible. And the reason for that is, with a high level understanding, I can now zone in what's important concepts to focus on when I go into deeper content for this. And so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be watching a high level video, not on the stream, but I watch a high level video that is relatively short, and then I go a step further. I watch a more in-depth video on the technology. And so from there, I have a good grasp. I'm like, hey, this is the language using in this technology, specifically Kafka. This is why they're doing things and such. My next approach is I go on and find a blog. A blog where I can start reading what are other people saying about Kafka, what are some things to be aware of, how are people describing these things. The next thing I do is I find a textbook that's related to the technology, especially for these major technologies that a lot of people use. They typically have a textbook from the people who created the technology, or really essentially experts of the technology, where you can really get an in-depth understanding. But the first thing is, though, I'm not going to read it end to end. That's overwhelming. What I really want to do is just skim, so I know where to reference and where are the high level ideas. Again, starting very high level, and we're slowly digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Next, I try to find what's the original paper of the technology, especially in the data space. There's always papers from conferences or universities where they're saying, hey, here's this new thing. So in the case of Kafka, this came out of LinkedIn, and I think 2011 maybe earlier, but essentially they're like, hey, this is really working for us. There's a whole bunch of other messaging platforms available, but we did something different, and it's working really well. And so they presented that at a conference. And so what I do is I go try to find that paper, and it may deviate from the future because this is like over 10 years old now. But the reason why this might be really valuable is that we can understand three things: the technical context of the time. What were the challenges they were facing at that time? Are those challenges still present today? Next, I want to understand is what is the problem statement that the authors are addressing. They try to make this very clear, like XYZ is this problem, and this is why we had to go through this new solution. And finally, how this technology is uniquely positioned to solve the problem statement. And so those three things really help understand what was the grounding behind this technology, and it allows me to understand a deeper reasoning of like, what are the questions I should be asking? How did this evolve to this current point? After I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skim through the official documentation with the emphasis on the getting started section. A lot of these technologies have documentation, and really popular ones hopefully have good documentation. It sucks that a technology has bad documentation, but I really enjoy the documentation I've seen so far. Examples of great documentation is like scikit-learn. That's a really great one. I like DBT's documentation. But it's really helpful, and something I like to do is when I go through the next step of implementing Hello World projects, guided projects, and personal projects, even though a lot of it's going to be copying code over because they're going to provide that for you as easily as possible to get started, what I like to do is go check out the code snippet, see what argument they're calling for their function, and then go into the documentation and understanding what's happening. Again, the goal is really trying to understand deeper level with each step. Finally, after I implement these kind of Hello World projects, I try to do a personal project where I don't have the code ready for me. I have to try to create it myself, and that's where you get a lot of bugs. And then where the bugs are at, that's where a lot of learning's at. And then finally, after I've done all this, then I go back to the textbook. I have working knowledge of how to use the technology. I have some questions from things I face. And now when I do read the textbook, it's actually valuable to me. It's not just coming up with random information. I actually have an understanding of what context it has. So that is my process. And I'm gonna give a quick second. I'm gonna go set up the chat on my iPad real quick while that's happening. And you see right here as well, I have the links to the things I'm referencing. So let me get this set up real fast. LinkedIn. Cool, we got 10 people up on here. That's awesome. Let me turn the volume down on this. Please ask questions along the way. Perfect. So let's add a little comment right there. We got about 20 people here. Wow, that's wild. Let's see. Edit the panels. I'm so new to streaming, so this is all new. I'm trying to figure out how to find the comments on Twitch, but I guess we'll figure that out eventually. It is what it is. Cool. Awesome. All right, so let's dive into this. So essentially, the first things I reviewed, and we're not going to watch these videos together, but you're going to have here, is that high-level video. The first one I went to was this, what is Kafka? It's about 10 minutes, really quick, high level, and has a lot of images. That was the first one I reviewed, just to understand, like, what is Kafka? Why even play with this, right? The next thing I look at is this much more in-depth one right here, which is this Kafka Explained. There's like 20 minutes really going into it. I like Phonetics for a lot of the Web3 stuff, but Matthew Brand, yes, I am using OBS to stream. That is what I'm using. Comment in from LinkedIn real quick. So one of the things for this is when I look through there, a lot of people are saying this is really good information. It's helped me learn a lot. So that's one of the things I do to check the comments and make sure, like, hey, is this even worthwhile to check out? So this was a really good video that I really enjoyed checking out. Then I look at intro blocks. big shout out to Swirl AI. You should go subscribe to his Substack. Aramis had a really great blog on the ML ops and ML use cases for Kafka through that. In addition, he has a really detailed diagrams that he's known for that I love looking at. So this is something really cool to check out. That's something I reviewed. And then next, getting started with Apache Kafka and Python. And so one of the first things I noticed when I started learning about Kafka is a lot of the documentation assumes maybe Java-based languages. I don't come from Java. I come from Python. And so this is a really great article to make that connection. Like, how do I start with Python for those things? Awesome. So after that, this is a textbook that I highly recommend and was recommended to me, which is Kafka, the Definitive Guide, which is basically written by the people who really set up Kafka at LinkedIn. This is a really great book. It goes in really deep. I can probably sign in and show the chapters to see table of contents. There we go. So you get really in depth of what's happening here for Kafka. Awesome. And then we have the Kafka official documentation. Again, this is Be Your Best Friend as you go through this, especially emphasis on the getting started, introduction and quick start. This is how you kind of set up your environment with everything for that. Awesome. And so let's dive in. I've kind of already read a lot of these. I skimmed through for the textbook. Let's start diving in, like, why Kafka? So I got Lucidchart set up. And so this is kind of the problem that they described initially, like why Kafka is so powerful. So let's see. Yes, there's a Twitch chat view in the docs menu. Okay, word. Thank you so much. Notifications. I'm trying to figure out how to set up the chat on here. Edit panels. I wonder if it's because, like, I have it in a smaller screen. Alright. If you're on Twitch, I unfortunately can't see your comments. I am so sorry. We'll figure it out for the next stream. But going back to here, so let me make this a little bit bigger as well. So we have data source. Data source. We're gonna make this yellow, right? So we have a data source, and essentially you have something that consumes this data source. So data source uses data, right? So let's make this a little bit bigger. And so if you have a simple application, this is relatively straightforward. You may have some data pipeline or something like that where it's going to that source, right? Maybe you have another use for that data, right? In another system. So that goes over to here as well. And your company's scaling, your company's growing, you maybe get more data, right? And so now you have another source, okay? And you have another source here, which goes only to this one. Boom. And this one. And let's say you add another data source. And it keeps on adding and adding and adding, right? As your company scales, as your use cases change, you start having all these dependencies. And it's extremely hard to keep track of everything. All of a sudden, you can see, oh no, which data source do I need to use? Which aspect kind of knowledge that I need to be aware of, right? This is extremely cumbersome. It can really slow you down and create technical debt. And so this is kind of one of the first problems that I noticed when reading about the Kafka literature is, you know, why is this, how can we solve for this when we scale? And so that enter the kind of publish subscriber kind of approach. And so going a little bit further, Kafka is saying, hey, for messaging systems, we don't want to worry about these connections here. And instead, we're going to have data producers and data consumers, right? And so now what's going to happen is the data producer is going to create data, and just send out messages without even knowing there's a consumer on the other end. So let me go see if we can find a little line. So, nope. Shape library. Look for signal. Can't find it in there. Oh well. We'll just make it something work. Alright. This is a signal saying like, hey, this is data coming in. Anyone can pick it up, right? Let's make this all black. Bam. So essentially these data producers are having this signal. Anyone can pick it up. Data consumer is like, hey, right here, I want to pick up on this signal, right? And so what's happening is saying, I want to pick up on these data producer signals. And now, for this same scenario, you're not keeping track of all these different connections for things. It is just subscribing to these different signals for that. And so that is the power of Kafka for that use case. Now, going to the next step though is like that's more than there's way more to this, right? And so now kind of going to the next step is let's just take this right here. Boop, boop, boop. Let's delete that and let's have these data consumers. And so now what's happening is we have these Kafka clusters. Kafka cluster. Make that big. Perfect. Make the text to the top. So we got a Kafka cluster now. And so what's happening is this is sending to the Kafka cluster, and these right here are sending the data consumers are saying, hey, I want to understand this topic, this partition. I'm going to request information and it's going to be sent back, right? And so within each Kafka cluster, let's see if I remember this correctly. Let me go reference real quick. The video, it had a really great video on Phonematics. Here we go. So we have cluster, and each thing you have a broker within there. Perfect. So now, let's see. Let's create a broker. Broker 1. Broker 2. And broker 3. So let's go fill this in right there. And so essentially what these brokers are doing are keeping track of the messages that are coming in from the data producer. And so let's move these texts to the top. Awesome. And so why this is super important is because this is what enables Kafka to, I believe it's called scaling horizontally. So because it's distributed, you can essentially have this information scale really quickly when you have a lot of information come through. And also it makes it redundant in that you don't have to worry about something happening. So when messages come in here, essentially what's happening is saying, hey, we're all gonna be on the same information with each other. And so once the message comes in, it's going to go through all the brokers for that and ensuring that all the information is available. And from what I read from the Kafka textbook is that a message is not confirmed to send out to a data consumer until it's copied across all the brokers. And the reason why this is important is, say for instance, let's add an X. Let's see. Shapes. No, Siri. I'm not. Okay. Alright. Let's add some text. X. Let's make it really large. Alright. So say for instance, this broker goes down, right? Well, because all the messages are copied on the broker 2 and broker 3, it can now say, oh man, this is broken. We're not going to check this out. We're not going to go here for now until this is fixed. And instead, everything's going to start pointing to the new ones, right? So that's why that's really important to have multiple brokers within a Kafka cluster. Now we start going into a little deeper, and where we have within a broker. So let's move this out real quick. And let's take this so we can kind of dive in further into this broker aspect. And again, summarizing what I'm learning as I go through Kafka. So for this broker, we have what is a topic. And you got multiple topics in there, and then within each topic you have a partition, and you got multiple partitions in the topic. And so this is how it keeps track of information of the messages going through here. And the Kafka cluster role is to essentially keep track of all this information, which messages are coming in, which partition should the message go to, when a data consumer makes a request, how should it go there. And so this is still very, very high level. This does not fully capture what's happening with Kafka, but it is saying, kind of describing what we learned through this video right here. And so I highly recommend going and check out those videos. But in summary, what is Kafka doing is when you scale and have a lot of data and or complex configurations, having direct connections to the data and the data source and data consumption can get really complicated, really hard to maintain, and increase technical debt. And so, therefore, a potential pattern you can use is a pub/sub, publishing subscriber method, where instead of having direct connections, you have a data source that produces data that essentially publishes it out into your system, and you have data consumers that can subscribe to that. And what Kafka does initially is it improves on that design by having this Kafka cluster that goes through and says, hey, these messages, this is how we're going to organize it. We're going to have them in brokers. The messages go in topic and partitions. And given those setups, we're going to have it repeat across multiple brokers so that it's redundant. And so if something goes down, you can still have the data. In addition, because it's distributed, you can scale this horizontally and handle a lot of data and messages. So that is high level what is happening here. And if you have any questions in the chat, I would love to check it out. Let's see. Checking the chat real quick. Cool. Awesome. So now we're going to start moving away from this diagram right here. And now we're getting to the fun part of actually coding. So let's start with the Apache Kafka quick start, which is right here. And so I'm gonna get my code up. Here is the README file for this. Right. New file. Let's see. Make up high file for right now. We'll see what happens. Couldn't start client iStart. Okay. Just got a new computer, so we'll see if this connects. And I do not like this song. There we go. Awesome. So, Kafka quick start. Let me go slide this over. Awesome. So, download the latest Kafka release and extract it. So let me go get my terminal. iTerm. Boom. Here we go. Go to my folder with Kafka. Awesome. So download latest release and extract it. So let's go download it. Error opening archive. Failed to open. Interesting. Okay. There we go. Download there. Kafka. There we go. And I'm going to put this in desktop documents repos. Alright, got Kafka there. So we got Kafka here for that. Awesome. Alright, now that we have Kafka, fetching original. Boom, boom. Alright. CD. Oops. CD. Alright. So, tar xdf Kafka. Boom. Error ring Kafka. Blah 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 blah. Why is that happening? CD Kafka. Alright, let's see what's doing here. No, your local environment must have Java 8 plus installed. Okay, hopefully we have Java on here. Again, part of the learning process. Making sure your environment's set up. Well, we'll see. Let's see if we can run this real fast. Got some action here. Alright, open another terminal session and run. So new window, default. So I got another one here, right here. Let's see. And what I am going to do is I'm going to my zish file and create an alias just to make my life easier. I'll skip that actually right now. Let's see, iTerm. So repos, CD, Kafka. Alright, now let's run this and see if we can get Zookeeper running. Cool. Awesome. So once all the services are successfully launched, you'll have basic Kafka environment running and ready to use. Start the Kafka server. Generate a cluster UID. Repos, cd Kafka. All right, cool. So Kafka cluster ID equals this. Let's see what happens. Okay, we got a cluster ID, format log directories, formatting of metadata version, cool, and then let's start the Kafka server. Let's see. Close event queue. Info app. Info Kafka server for unregistered. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So let's create a topic and store your event. And once we're done through this, I'll go walk through kind of what's happening. So on this first set where I'm coding, I'm just running through the instructions, seeing what's happening, getting a feel for it. Then we can go back into documentation and understand what's happening. And so one of the key things is, remember we had that diagram here, is we're essentially setting up this part right here, the Kafka cluster for that. So create a topic to store your events. So Kafka is a distributed event streaming platform, lets you rewrite, process events. And so let's see what describing events as. Messages consists of a variable length header or variable length opaque key byte array. So that's one thing too for Kafka, is that when it views messages as key byte arrays. So like 01001, whatever it is, array for that. And those are the messages coming through. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so we see that. Example, events are payment transactions, geolocation, blah, blah, blah. These events are organized and stored in topics. Very simplified, a topic is similar to a folder in a file system, and the events are the files in the folder. So remember, going back to here, we had our topics, which they were talking about, and then within the topics we'll have a partition. So before you can write your first events, you must create a topic. Open another terminal session and run this. So we're gonna go create a topic. Let's see what is happening. Jeremy, what's good? Thanks for commenting. Happy New Year, man. Alright, so I'm creating a topic, quick start events, bootstrap. Let's see what's happening. Local host 9092. Davis, I can see LinkedIn comments. I have it on my iPad right here. Here, I'll show y'all real quick. I got this little setup right here, so I can go see what's happening with y'all. So if you can comment on LinkedIn. What I currently don't have though is comments on Twitch. Ooh, error while executing topic command. Let's go. Okay. So let me go pull up Twitch on my phone actually, because then I can actually probably see the comments there. Twitch. Oh man, I can finally see chat. Amazing. I can finally see the chat on Twitch. I'll have that right here on my phone. Yo, Mod Charles, yee. What's good? Alright, so now I got chat right here. Mark, there's a cog in Twitch that lets you pop out the Twitch chat. We'll figure it out eventually. I think y'all don't want to see me figure out Twitch for the day. I think y'all want to see me struggle through Kafka. So, what's going on here? We got some nice error logs. And let me know if this is too small to read. I can also zoom in with this. Perfect. So, error. While executing top command, call, blah, 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 deadlines, tries, da, da, da. Timeout exception after one attempt caused by or common errors disconnection cancel. Create topic request with correlation 3 due to node 0 being disconnected. So what is happening here? So when I come across an error, next step, we are going to go and search it. Good old Stack Overflow and see what's happening here. So remove all Kafka configs in Java and put them in application YAML has resolved the issue. I was able to send and receive messages now. In case I was using MS Bootstrap server, I am. That's not very helpful for me right now. It sounds like a lot of Java stuff. So let's go back here. So before you can write, you must create your first topic. So let's go first look at the files for here. So going to repos, Kafka, bin. Okay. Let's go see what it's looking at. So going bin, Kafka topic ch, bin, Kafka topics sh. Oh, that is not what I want. I do not want Xcode. That is absolutely horrible. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this back up. I'm gonna exit out of this. I'm gonna bring it back, open, and I'm gonna have it set up to read repos. Open. Okay. GitHub, Kafka, bin. And so what we're going to be looking at is just understanding what's happening. So Kafka topics sh. Kafka topics h. Here we go. Okay, license, unless required, exec, direct name, Kafka learning class, topic command. Topic, quick start events, Bootstrap server, localhost. Huh. I wonder. So this has been running for a while, and so I wonder if like this part right here needs to finish running before it can get started. So we'll see. So when in doubt, run it again, see what happens. Something different might happen. Typically it doesn't though, but it doesn't hurt to try. And I have this recorded. I'm definitely going to be editing it through to make it a lot quicker to watch for that throughout. Any questions from folks in the chat about data engineering, kind of my career currently in data, why I'm learning about Kafka? Happy to answer that while we wait for this stuff to run. It seems like it's taking a while for this to set up in the background, which was unexpected. A wise developer told me I should set this up before my stream, and I didn't. It was New Year's Eve. But this is a great example. All right. Request a correlation ID 3 due to node 0 being disconnected. Boom. Let's figure out what is happening here. How well do you know Shell? Word. Awesome. Yeah, if only I would look at chat. I'm iffy on it. I can navigate terminal pretty well for like my data science workflows. I haven't created any Shell scripts though. That's one thing that I want to learn because you can automate so much stuff for that. So for context, I forgot. Mod Charles asked, how well do you know Shell? So keep in mind, so for background, if you're new here about me and my kind of data career, I started off as a data scientist and slowly moved more and more into data engineering, trying to fix the problems that I was at a startup for that essentially, like, no one was there to fix it, so I was just gonna fix it, right? And so that's how I got deeper and deeper into things. Learned how to use GitHub. Learned how to code in production code base on the inside. But I haven't really gotten around to shell scripts. And so I'm aware of them. I can look at them and not be like totally confused. But if you were to create one myself or understand the commands, I'm not there yet. And this is exactly why I'm doing this right here. So you can kind of see how I'm learning, upskilling for this. This is not like some Kafka masterclass. This is just me coding around so you can see how someone who is experienced with coding, who is experienced with doing data stuff, learns a new technology. Thanks for the question. Alright. Connection refused. Alright. So I think the issue is that the initial setup right here on this step, the start the Kafka server, it still needs to run. So while we're waiting for that, let's go check out the other ones. So we have Kafka, Apache Quick Start. Let's do getting started with Kafka and Python. So let's go check this out, what's happening. So Confluent is the managed service for Kafka. They have a lot of the best kind of tools for things. Again, Kafka is open source, but also there's managed versions as well for a lot more production things. So this is a Python client to work with things. And so from my understanding, there are various different clients that are made. So I think the C, C++, C sharp, I don't know. C is kind of the main one that they built on because it's optimized super fast. And then essentially these other languages are like wrappers around that. Let's go check out the prerequisites. All right. You already have Python installed. Boom, boom. Confluent Cloud, which I am not doing. Perfect. Awesome. All right, there's that. There's also building your first Kafka producer. Basic Kafka prerequisites, initialize request. Is this done running? Connection refused. Is this getting stuck in a loop? Client server. So essentially what I'm seeing here is just trying over and over again to connect to Java. It's saying it's connection refused, so we're gonna exit this out and see what happens. Nice elevator music. Yo, thank you. I have a whole playlist of house music that I love to code to, but to not get copyright stricken down, I have this lovely copyright free for streaming lo-fi music. So enjoy the elevator music. I agree, it does sound like elevator music. Eventually we'll find a playlist that jives. I have like a techno one, but that's like a little intense for learning. I feel like if I have a deadline, I would love that. So let's understand why Java is not working. Not connected to internet, server is not running, server is running but not listening to the port. Firewall is not permitted for host port combination. That might be something right there. Incorrect protocol. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's retrace our steps. Good on Kafka. There. So we're going to do, make this smaller again. So we're in Kafka right here. Had an issue. Boom, boom. Start a Zookeeper service. So let's start a Zookeeper service again. Okay. Retracing our steps. No file. Oh, not in. CD. Repos. CD Kafka. Alright, cool. In Kafka. I think I know the issue here. Essentially what I did was, okay, I think I know what happened now. So it said start the Zookeeper service, right? So server start. I started that and then I exited out and I did, and I pressed this again. So server properties. So I think I need to have both of these open at the same time to make that work. So we'll see if that's the issue. I'll check in with y'all if that is the issue. So we already did this set, so let's open up a new terminal. New window. Zish. Also, Akira, favorite movie ever. I probably watch it a few times every year. Cool. So format log directories, we already done. Start the Kafka server. So let's start this server. Alright, so CD. Repos, CD, Kafka. Alright, so let's run this. Hopefully it will work this time. Alright, info app, info, Kafka server for one registered org, Apache Kafka companies. Alright, let's see what's happening here. Next step, check the error logs. You need to download and start Zookeeper. Zookeeper is started. Zookeeper is started. Okay. Going through this. Alright. I already did this, so we're actually at this step right here. Topic, quick start events already exists. Alright, so that already exists. Alright, getting a little bit further. So we at least know that quick start events exist. So where would the topics be stored at? Let's go explore this right here. So where are the Kafka topics? Let's see. Config. That isn't helpful. Alright. So let's keep on going. See how it is. And this is kind of the process many times when I learn new technology. Oh, I'm seeing more comments here. 1 second. Really glad you started streaming. I've tried before with a project, but I don't think there's enough data people on Twitch. I find the process of connecting live while being productive to be fun. Thanks so much, man. Really trying to try this new thing. In other streams, I'm a little more competent because I actually know the technology. This one, completely new for that. But I appreciate the kind comments. But yeah, I'm trying to have streaming be a big part of 2023. I have a lot of fun, especially when comments come in. I can helpfully answer them for that. So we already have a quick start events topic set up. And so the next step, all of Kafka command line tools have additional options run Kafka.ch command without any arguments to display usage information. For example, it can show you details such as the partition count of the new topic. So let's go run this command, see what happens. Huh. Whoa, that's cool. Okay, so we got some more information here. So when I did just that, I had no idea what I'm talking about. But I had to go to bin, run the shell script, create, delete, describe, change the topic, options, alter. Okay, it's giving me information regarding kind of Kafka, what I can do in here. Bootstrap server, config string, create, delete, help, print usage information, describe, list details of the given topics, list all available topics. So let's list. Let's do that and see what happens. And so when I do this, I should expect to see quick start events. Let's see, exception in thread main, illegal argument section, bootstrap server must be specified. Okay. So bootstrap server must be specified. Okay, so that's what's happening right here. Great. So let's do this again, but let's add this line right here, the bootstrap server localhost 9092. All right, this should hopefully work. Awesome. We see the topic we made, quick start events. Okay, that's really cool. All right. It seems super small, but when you're learning something new, these small wins are amazing. So let's recap what we've done so far. So we have downloaded Kafka. We have accessed Kafka and started Zookeeper service, which is essentially keeping track of all the clusters and topics and brokers. In addition, started the Kafka broker service. Okay, this is making sense now. So we started the Zookeeper service, and then we start the broker service. And from there, we create a cluster ID, this name, which is a random UID. And then we create the logs, and then we started our Kafka server. Okay, this is really cool. So the next step is we had to create a topic, and remember going back to our diagram, we have a broker. So we create a Zookeeper which runs Kafka, we create a server for the Kafka cluster, and then we created a server for the brokers. Cool. And then we initiated a topic. Awesome. Perfect. So let's run this right here, down below. Let's go. Awesome. So it should match here. So topic, quick start event, topic ID, different partitions, 1, replicated in, let's see, replication factor 1, configs, let's see, topic, quick start events, partitions, 0, leader, 0, replicas, 0. And so for this configs things, when you have your brokers within a cluster, one of those brokers is going to be a leader, which is kind of organizing things. You're going to have replicas of certain ones and the partitions within that. Something to be aware of. Awesome. Okay, so step 4, write some events into the topic. Okay, so a Kafka client communicates with the Kafka broker via the network for writing or reading events. Once received, the broker will store the events in a durable and fault-tolerant manner. And that's something that I want to highlight that came up in a lot of the documentation, a lot of the videos and in the textbook is how Kafka can be durable and fault tolerant. And so going back to our thing right here, where's that little X at? What they're kind of describing here is, here are these shapes. Say for instance, we have our Kafka cluster and things breaks. Happens all the time in data. Boom, this is down. Well, if broker 1's down, that's still okay because it'll redistribute that information and the settings to make sure that you can still get your data. So that's what it means by durable and fault tolerant. Awesome. Let's move this X back. So let's write some events. Run the console producer client to write a few events into your topic. By default, each line you enter will result in a separate event being written to the topic. All right, so let's run. So console producer, topic, quit start event, bootstrap server, boom. This is my first event. This is my second event. All right, let's see what happens. Whoa, okay, so I think you can write, so this is my first event. That's sick. Okay, this is my second event. Oh, can't spell. Oh, no, can't go back either. All right, let's try it again. My second event. Okay, cool. So you can stop the producer client with Control C at any time. So let's do that. Control C. All right, awesome. So we created some data, some events in there. All right, read the events. Okay, so open another terminal session. Man, there's a lot of terminal sessions happening here. New window. Repos, CD, Kafka. Okay. So we are gonna run the consumer. Okay. So now we're gonna create a consumer topic, quit start event from beginning, bootstrap. Okay. So now, right here, we got this command, and going back to our diagram. So we set up the cluster. We set up the producer, we've produced some data, and we sent it to our brokers. Now we're setting up a consumer to start reading that data from the cluster. So let's start running this. Run. Yo, that's so sick. That's awesome. Okay, so the data we created, so let's go back here. We produced, this is my first event, this is my second event, and now it's showing in the consumer, this is my first event, this is my second event. And so what we did was the consumer made a call to the broker, and the broker's like, yeah, bet, I got that information, here you go, and sent it back to us. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited. This is going a lot better than I anticipated. I was really worried that it was gonna crash and burn. So I'm curious, because that's still running. I wonder if I can start adding more events. All right, this is another event. Let's see what pops up on the other screen right here. Yo, that's so sick. Okay, so I have my producer. Is going over here. Oh man. All right. Anything I should write? I'm gonna go back to the chat. So we have my producer right here, and we have my consumer. So I'm gonna write another event. Kafka is really cool. I can't believe this is working. Let's go. Cool. Boom, boom. All right, cool. So we got some data streaming going. So this is actually not the whole scale, but again, Hello World project, just getting started. But this is pretty cool. This is really, really cool to see it happen. As you can tell, I'm a huge data nerd. So how am I spending my New Year's Day? Diving into data. It's like the perfect day. Okay, so read the events. Okay, so now we're doing Kafka Connect. So import, export your data as streams of events with Kafka Connect. You probably have a lot of data systems, relational databases. I do not right now. But let's figure something out. So, in this quick start, we'll see how to run Kafka Connect with simple connectors to import data from a file to a Kafka topic and export data from a Kafka topic to a file. So first, make sure to add connect blah 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 to the plugin path property in the connect workers configuration. So let's go to the connect workers configuration. Maddie, what's good? Maddie Two Shoes. So there are very few data streamers on Twitch. Maddie's one of them. Maddie_Two Shoes. Go follow them. Essentially saying, it's hard to be productive while streaming. Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that's hard for me, a lot of the work I do many times goes beyond kind of like these side fun projects. It's like many times a lot of the data work I'm doing is at work, or with sensitive data, and I cannot share that publicly. And so hopefully I can start having more time to do more content like this. My new job I'm starting in a couple weeks is just a lot of content creation, specifically around, I won't tell yet. I'll wait till it starts. But it'll be a lot of data content creation kind of like this in data engineering. So that's exciting. Cool. So, all right. So now, first make sure to add connect file 3.13 jar to the plugin path property in the connect workers configuration. So see plugin path. So let's open this up in the new tab. Oh yeah, playing with the public data sets, definitely agree. That's what I'm trying to do more for that, especially as I dive deeper into the data engineering stuff. But also, I have that data analytics, data science background, so I might do some streams like that. Before, I've done some SQL streams as well, which are super fun. So I'll go pull up like a leak code kind of essentially of SQL and try to solve those live. One thing I want to set up in 2023 is a SQL showdown, where essentially we get a group of people and we have a bracket, kind of like March Madness, where you go head on head to see who solves the SQL problem first. And I'm trying to get a sponsor so we have like cash prizes and everything. I might try to do an online version first and see how I can set that up, and then maybe do something live in San Francisco. I'm based out in San Francisco, so maybe do something live. But I talked to some part of the agency. I talked to the head of the agency to see like, hey, can we get a sponsor for this? Because I think that'd be something really cool. Kind of like esports, but for SQL, the ultimate nerd showdown, which is pretty tight. What kind of inspired this was I saw the competitive Excel, and I was like, that's so cool, but I'm not doing Excel. That's a whole other wizardry going on. But we're gonna do it for SQL. I want to make it happen in 2023. It seems fun, especially if you can get some money for doing SQL. That'd be sick. Cool. So now, let's see, where was it? So see plugin path for detailed explanation. So let's go plugin path. Okay, plugin path property, and the worker. Okay, where is the workers configuration? Oh, config. Let's go. All right. So we got config, connect file, and the plugin path. All right. So first, make sure add connect file blah 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 to the plugin path property in the connect workers configuration. That's a sync. That's a source. Distributed properties. Another thing you can do is just use this right here, plugin path. There we go. So Maddie Two Shoes says you're in the 98th percentile when you took the sequel. I think those are fighting words then. That you're gonna be champion in the sequel showdown. I now expect you to sign up when I make this happen, so you can show that 98th percentile flex. Yo, Ben, what's good? I appreciate you tuning in, showing my process. Yeah, there's a whole learning thing. Hopefully people like this. I'll do this more often. This is super fun. Oh, Maddie says if you run it online, 100% in. All right, Maddie, just for you, I gotta make this work online. I'll figure out how to set it up, get a whole showdown. I think that'd be sick. Yeah, I think that would be hella fun. I think we get some more eyes on that too if it's online rather than doing it in person. So, yeah. From the US, from Europe. Fly me to the US from Europe. Yo, you know what? We could potentially make that happen. What if, I'm just saying out loud, we do a sequel showdown, we do a series of events, and we fly out the top champions to SF to duke it out. That would be super cool. Maybe that's like a 2024 thing. Let's make it happen. Alright, so plugin path. Alright. Plugin path equals. Alright, so now let's add plugin path. Connect. Hopefully this doesn't break anything. We'll see. File, save, and then standalone properties. And it's okay if you break something, especially in this Hello World project. I'm not working in production. Completely okay for me for things to break. Let's see. All right, so let's find out if this works. So now let's go back to our terminals. All right, let me exit out of this. Let's see. It is Control C and Control C. All right, cool. We're out of there. So now we are going to set up Connect. We're gonna get some fake data. So now we are in the Kafka, Echo, plugin path, file connect. Oh, that's what's happening. So make sure to add a connect file. Okay. All right. Whatever. Then start by creating some seed-based data start. So echo e food in bar test.text. Alright, so again, let's go back to our files, see what's happening here. So files. Bin. So foo. Where is foo? Windows. Oh no, that is not it. It's libraries, license logs, site. It's somewhere here. Can't find it. We'll figure it out what happens. Let's just go. And that's what I want to highlight too is, you know, when you're learning a new technology, you don't have to be an expert at it. Just go with the flow. Just go through the process. You can pick it up in the next iteration. Don't get stuck in the minutia of things. So we ran this. Cool. So next we'll start connecting two running in standalone mode, which means they run in a single local dedicated process. We provide these three configuration files as parameters. The first is always configuration for the Kafka connect process, containing common configurations such as the Kafka brokers to connect to the serialization format of the data. The remaining configuration files each specify a connector to create. These files include unique connector name, the connector class to initiate, and any other configurations required for the connector. Okay, so in bin, we're going to set this configuration file. Whoa. Alright, cool. So let's understand what is happening here. So bin connect standalone config connect standalone properties config connect. Alright, so we're gonna go to the config files. So config connect standalone properties. Okay. Okay, so let's connect to the configurations there. Okay, cool. And so let's go connect standalone sh. So that's in bin connect standalone sh. Cool, awesome. So if I'm understanding this correctly, essentially is we run this shell script and then we're using these commands right here to reference what are the configurations we want to use for that. Awesome. All right. So let's go back to our terminal. So these sample configuration files include with Kafka, use the default local cluster configuration you started earlier and create two connectors. The first is a source connector that reads lines from an input file and produces each Kafka topic, and the second is a sync connector that reads messages from Kafka topic and produces each as a line output file. So during startup, you'll see a number of log messages, including some indicating that the connector is being instantiated. Once the Kafka connect process has started, the source connector should start reading lines from test.txt. So let's see test.txt. Let's see what that's all about. Test.txt. Foo bar. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, cool. So we added that. Bet. All right. So let's go back to our thing. So we should see foo and bar pop up when we run this. So more test sync. We should see foo and bar pop up. No such file or directory. Test sync.txt. Alright, so during the startup, you'll see a number of log messages, including some blah blah blah. Okay, so let's understand what is happening here. During startup, you'll see a number of log messages. So let's go back to what was happening here. A lot of stuff. Okay, so connect standalone worker initializing, worker values, blah 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 blah. Class is doing a lot of doohickeys. Add it plugin, add it plugin, add it plugin, add it plugin. Da da. Info aliases. Delegating class loader. Okay. So what I'm doing right here is I'm going through the log C because I feel like I missed something here. It's telling me to look for sync. I have no idea where that sync value is. So one thing I can do is I should expect the word foo. So let's go look up foo. And let's add some extra things. Files include .text. Let's do bar. Let's do bar instead. Yeah, this isn't helpful. This is too much information. Okay, going back here. Let's see. So config bin test.sync. We got the config. Boom boom. Logs. Let's go check out the connect log. Alright, so now I'm checking out the logs to see what's happening. Ooh, we got an error. Okay. Base 64, JSON convert, base values, connect standalone, worker initialize, Kafka connect starting, herder started, working starting file offset, worker started, herder started, initializing rest source, adding admin source, no session, blah, blah, no scavenge started. Okay. Kafka Connect started. Failed to create job for Kafka Connect. Stopping after error. Okay, failed to find any class that implements connector, which name matches file stream source. Available connectors are. Huh. So I'm coming across an error. Okay. Kafka Connect starter, stopping, da da da. Okay. So that's another thing is typically with these tools they'll have logs that you can save up, that saves up so you can see what's happening. Sometimes it's not super clear within the messages. Like this is just super hard to read. This is nice and color coded. I can quickly see something went wrong with trying to connect here. So failed to find any class that implements connector. So let's go find this right here. And we're gonna go Google this, see what happens. Okay, so let's go follow their suggestion, even though it has 0 responses, but we go to bin, Kafka run class, regex equals, I don't know details, but connect files included in the class path. Simply editing Kafka run class edge did a trick to me. Okay, so let's run this again. Ooh, wrong one. Okay, so I got an error. What is happening here? Okay. No results found. Ah, I think I see the issue. So what it's telling me is what I need to do is I need to go to the config. So cd config connect standalone properties. I'm just gonna do this manually. So let's go to config, connect standalone properties. That's the issue. So there was the error. Okay, I think we can probably fix this now. Let me save this. All right, this should work now. Cool. Alright, see sample configuration files. During startup, you'll see a number of log messages, including some indicating conservators, blah, blah, blah. Once the Kafka Connect process started, the source connector will start reading lines from test.txt and produce them in the topic connect test. And the sync connector should start reading messages from the topic connect test and write them to file test sync. So let's go see if we can find test sync. Yo, it's there. Cool. So we have that file now. Test sync text. So let's go and start a new terminal. We have a lot of terminals happening here. Alright, so repos, cd, Kafka. Okay, so let's run this right here, and we should see foo and bar pop up. Let's go! That's cool. Alright, so the data is being stored in the Kafka topic connect test, so we can also run a console consumer to see the data topic or use custom consumer code to process it. Alright, so let's go run this right here. So, connecting to Kafka console consumer. So we're now going to access the consumer, bootstrap server, localhost, topic. We're connecting to the topic connect test, and we're doing it from the beginning. Cool. All right, let's run this. Schema, type string, optional false, payload foo. Yo, that's cool. That's super cool. All right. The connectors continue to process data so we can add data to the file and see it move through the pipeline. Yo, are you serious? All right. Let me go test that text, and I can start adding stuff here. So let's say this is another line of text. let's save this. File save. Yo! And it popped up right there. That's cool. Okay, so now what we have here, so before we were writing in the terminal, it was showing up on the other side. Now we have this text file that's connecting to, and we can add this data. So let's add new types of data. Let's see if we can, for 6.7, this is a string with the number 4. So cool. Okay, so now go to terminal. So I'm going to, so let's pay attention to this right here. I added all this extra data, and when I click save, it will pop up here. That's cool. So schema type string, 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 they're all coming in a string. Cool. Bool. Alright, cool. So we got sync set up. Alright. Alright, so process your events with Kafka Stream. So we did Kafka connect or import. Alright. So process your events with Kafka Streams. Alright, let's go. So once your data stores Kafka as events, you can process the data with Kafka Streams. Oh, that's one thing I also want to highlight too, is I'm blanking on the name, but essentially remember we have this data in here. I believe there is called a retention policy or retention service, but essentially the data is stored, I believe, on disk, and that data will be stored for however long you set. And I think the default is 7 days. I could be wrong, but essentially that's how it's being able to like access all this data for that. Something to be aware of. All right, let's go back to this. Okay, process your events with Kafka Streams. So once your data is stored in Kafka as events, you can process the data with Kafka Streams client library for Java/Scala. It allows you to implement mission-critical real-time applications and microservices where the input and output data is stored in Kafka topics. Kafka Streams combine the simplicity of writing and deploying standard Java Scala applications on the client side with the benefit of Kafka's server-side cluster technology to make these applications highly scalable, elastic, fault-tolerant, and distributed. So this is in Scala and Java, which I'm not going to do that right now. I'm doing Python. So let's go back to the setup here. So let's escape. So Control C. Cool. Exit out of that. Process your events from Kafka Streams. I'm doing that. Terminate the Kafka environment. Now that you've reached the end of the quick start, feel free to tear down the Kafka environment or continue playing around. Stop the producer, Control C. You haven't done so already. Stop the Kafka bar, Control C. Lastly, if the Kafka zookeeper section was followed, stop the zookeeper that. Alright, cool. So now we got to stop all our servers. Alright, so Control C. Awesome. Control C. That ended. And Control C. Awesome. Cool. So that was the quick start of Kafka. So we started the Zookeeper service. We started the Kafka cluster service. Then we started the Kafka broker service. And then we started adding data to it. You're seeing the data go from one terminal to another side. We then do the Kafka connect, where we use Kafka syncs to check out the text file and show it in here. Oh man, that's pretty cool. And now we turn it. So you have successfully finished a Apache Kafka quick start. Cool. That's Kafka right there. And so I'm gonna keep on going for a little bit longer. I think that was the quick start. So going back to our learning plan, right? So my first step was watching high-level videos, done that. Reading a blog article, done that. Skimming a textbook, done that. Reading the original paper of the technology, the problem statement. Let me go find that for you so I can show you real quick what I'm talking about. Did I forget to add that in there? Oh, I totally did. I'll add it later. Just look up Kafka 2011 LinkedIn conference. I think you'll be able to find it. But I'll add it later in here for sure. Cool. So, let's make this bigger again. And so Apache Kafka. Let's exit out this stuff. Yo, that was sick. That was really cool. Okay, so now we've gone through the hello world. Let's get started with Python. Let's see what it's like to use Python for Kafka. So, alright, introduction. In this tutorial, you will build a Python client application. Cool. So, build a client Python application. We recommend using Confluent Cloud. So you don't run your own Kafka cluster, so you can focus on client development. But before we set up a local Kafka cluster, the tutorial will walk you through those steps as well. Let's totally do that. And so I think essentially for these next steps, that's why I have like Docker set up right here, is that whole process of stuff, setting up the terminal and getting the servers to run and all of that. You shouldn't have to do that by yourself every single time. That's why you can use Docker to set that up. So I think that's what we're gonna have us do next, is set up Docker. The tutorial focuses on simple application to get started. Check out the Kafka Streams 101 course, covers the Kafka Streams client library. Okay. Alright. We already have Python installed. We'll set up a new Kafka cluster or connect to the existing one. You do not have an existing cluster, blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing that. I'm not signing up. If you cannot use a Kafka cluster, you can use existing Kafka cluster and run one locally using Docker. Let's go. This is what we're going to do. So I already have Docker. So we'll figure this out. Alright, next one. Been streaming for an hour and a half. Yo, we got 4 people on Twitch, 10 people on LinkedIn. That's kind of wild. That's wild to me. Yo, start off small and it's gonna grow over time. But this is sick. We had like 20 people in the beginning, but I don't blame them watching someone code for a while like that. But some people like to watch that process, and so you can come back. I hope to edit this video a little bit so it'll be quicker, easier to see. Cool. So create a new directory anywhere you like for this project. Alright, so let's go back to our lovely terminal, and we'll go to GitHub. Okay. And then cd cd live learning. There we go. Alright, so now let's see. Git status. On branch, up to date. Perfect. Let's go start a new branch. So git checkout. I misspelled checkout. Git checkout Python tutorial. Python Kafka tutorial. Perfect. So now we're on a new branch. So let's get started. So make directory Kafka Python getting started and cd Kafka Python getting started. So now we're gonna make a directory within here. Cool. So now we can see where we're at. There's nothing in here. Cool. And we can see it in our directory. So GitHub, learning Kafka, Kafka quick start. Hi, I'm gonna get rid of that. Delete. Move to trash. All right. So now we have that folder right there, and we're in there. Cool. Now we're going back to my familiar place of Python. All right. Hopefully, be a little bit smoother. So create and activate a Python virtual environment. Give yourself a clean, isolated workplace. Let's see. I am not going to do that because I have this right here. So, running Kafka, file, new file, Kafka tutorial .py. Come on. All right. right, cool. We got that there. All right, so now we need to install Confluent Kafka. So it says pip. I'm gonna do conda because that's what I have set up for my computer. So conda install Confluent Kafka. Let's go. Ooh, I like this song. What song's this? In my clouds. Indeed. We will be in the cloud eventually after I got this local machine. Alright. Cool, it's all set up and use the search bar at the top. Cool. So we got that downloaded. Alright, so conda install Confluent Kafka config parser. Cool, that's set up. Packages not found. Oh my god. Alright, let's go see. Alright, conda Confluent. Try this again. Proceed, yes. Yes, I do. Have everything run. Da, 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 da. Awesome. Okay, now we have that. All right. So let's see. Let's see what happens. So this is just a wild guess, see if I can get that config parser. I might just have to use pip. Nope, it's not there. So let's try. There we go. Cool. All right, Kafka setup. So we are going to use local. So paste the following into a Docker Compose YAML file. So let's create a file. New file. Docker Compose YAML file. And we're just going to copy and paste this in here. Alright, file, save. Oh, Davis, what's good? Mod Charles, yo. What up, Davis? I appreciate you coming through like this. Alright, so boom, 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 file, save. Awesome. And so what we're doing with this Docker file is essentially that whole process we did earlier of setting up the terminal and setting up Zookeeper and setting up the broker and all that, now it's just happening with our Docker file. So we have to do that. It makes things a lot easier and repeatable for things. So let's do Docker compose up in there. So we're in our tutorial, and let's do Docker compose up D. Yo, that's sick. It's running. Cool. So everything started up. We're all set to go. So how to start the Docker, blah, blah, blah. Configuration. So paste the following configuration data into a file named getting started ini. Alright. File, save. Okay, cool. And we'll go through these files afterwards when we're done. So file, save. Okay, cool. So we got the configuration set up, create a topic, events in Kafka organized and durably stored in named topics. Topics have parameters that determine the performance, durability, Create a new topic, purchases, which we'll use to produce consume events. So command locate inside the local running Kafka broker. Where do we create this topic at? So I think that would be the Docker compose. Let's take a step back. So create the configuration, default consumer. Paste the following configuration data to the file getting started in there. Default consumer. Oh, I think I need to run this in the terminal. Okay. Created topic purchases. Yo, cool. Alright, so Docker compose, exec broker, Kafka topics, create topic purchases. So let's see how that changed things in here. Zookeeper. Let's go check it out. Alright, so we got our Kafka thing set up. It's running. So let's check it out. Okay, broker. So you can see it running in the background right here. Awesome. Cool. Awesome. So Docker compose, exec broker, got that running. Build a producer. Paste the following Python code into a file named producer.py. Producer.py. And again, we'll go through this to understand what's happening after we run through all this stuff. Import sys, but not used. Huh, oh well. Okay. So, file, save, arc parse, config parser. Okay, cool. Build a consumer. So now we're going to create another one called consumer.py. So, alright, so we're creating a producer and consumer. Again, going back to our drawing, we set this up with Docker. Now we set up a producer which will produce the data, and we set up the consumer. Weed while work from home. Amazing name. What's the reason behind learning Kafka? That's a great question. So I'll answer that real quick. So for me personally, why I'm learning Kafka is I have a new job that I'm starting in a couple weeks that is heavily reliant on Kafka for the infrastructure. And so I have to learn that personally. But for kind of general use, like why is Kafka so popular? Like Kafka is like the dominating force for a lot of streaming data. And so to give you context, Kafka came out around 2011. LinkedIn was using it to much success, and it's a way to implement the publisher subscribe method. So let me make this larger again. Oh, that's too large. All right. So we got this data right here. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So why do you want to use Kafka? The reason behind learning this is that it's a pattern to implement the publisher subscriber pub sub pattern. And so the reason why you want to do that is because is when you start to scale, have a lot of data, or just have complexity for your data. When you have these direct connections, it's really hard to do that. Managing multiple data channels and many nodes when you have a distributed system. Okay, yeah, so definitely going to that. Thanks for the clarification. So essentially is by having all these multiple connections, it's super hard to keep track of. And so, again, I'm still learning Kafka, so take it with a grain of salt. But a way you can get around this is instead of having to keep track of all these different connections, you now create your data producers who are just sending out data. They're publishing it out with no idea who's going to be consuming it, right? What this does is now you can have multiple producers available and not have to worry about the dependencies of who's connecting to who. That's on the consumers to figure that out. Multicast. Don't know what you mean by multicast, so please clarify in the comments what you're trying to say. Responding to someone on Twitch. But essentially keep on going down the same path. Hopefully it's going to be answering your question. If not, sorry. Is the reason why I have these multiple sources is because we have a cluster right here. A couple things happening. It makes it so it is durable and fault tolerant. So what happens is, say for instance, you have a Kafka stream. If you just have a pub sub kind of set up, what if you lose data? Or what if essentially like the consumer needs to pause for a little bit? Like a lot of data being broadcasted to multiple consumers. Okay, so why would you have multiple consumers? The reason being is, say for instance, how can I say this out loud? Just thinking out loud off the top of my head. So you may have multiple consumers because they may be part of different services of your product. So let's say Twitch. Let's go with Twitch, for example. It is streaming this chat service. So you may have a data producer that's the chat references, right? And then another one might be the video. So again, it's streaming to another video service. So the data consumers might be different things. Another aspect is, what if one consumer is for analytics and metrics and another consumer is for actual product itself? And so maybe this is the chat feature, right? The chat's coming in and it's going through Kafka. And so one data consumer is focused on the product, so I can talk to you in real time like we're doing in Twitch. Another one might be the analytics of like, hey, when people talk on Twitch in the chat, what are they like? Maybe it's like an auto mod feature for this one where it's reading the messages and making sure it's saying something okay, right? Does that answer your question, weed while work from home? And a great resource, kinda. Okay, here, in the chat, I'm gonna put in a, 1 second, let me go put in the chat. I'll send you a link. Oh, I totally overcomplicated why I want to learn Kafka. Okay, why I want to learn Kafka. My opinion would be learning these tools would be boring. Okay, cool. For my job, alright. New to the streaming thing, and trying to respond to comments and explain things. Okay, so why you want to learn Kafka is essentially if you want to implement change data capture, if you want to start doing streaming data, right? A lot of services, if you're just doing batch processing of data, right? Where it's like, hey, every hour, every day, send me this chunk of data and we can analyze it. Yeah, Kafka is overkill for that. But if you're working with, say, a whole bunch of events, say you're doing Internet of Things where you have a lot of telemetry devices, you have a lot of data coming at you, right? Or you have something the scale of like Twitter or Facebook or Netflix or something like that. Then you need to start getting to streaming data because it allows you to have data almost instantly, near real time. And essentially, this is why you would want to learn Kafka if you want to be on the data engineering side of implementing these real-time data, near real-time data infrastructure tools, whether it is for a product or ingestion or things like that. And so for me personally, I'm super fascinated with streaming data. I think streaming data is really going to be the future of data, and batch is just not going to be the competitive advantage in the market anymore. And so with that said, batch is the default because it's simple and gets the job done. But I truly believe that streaming data is going to transform, really enabling human-in-the-loop processes of data that we just don't have currently. And so I've done a lot of market research on why streaming data might be really important. And like one of the key things that's driving the push for streaming data is 5G. 5G enables us to have the hardware to actually produce and consume a lot of data, further enabling streaming data and making it more important. So I think in the report I saw is like only 20% of the world is up to 5G, and that's going to grow substantially. And so I think by learning Kafka, you're going to be positioning yourself really well to understand how to work with streaming data, which I think will become default in the nearest future. Cool. All right. Let's go back to thanks for the questions. I really appreciate you asking questions and engaging. Even if I'm not the best at responding just quite yet. All practicing right here. But really appreciate you asking questions. Alright, so we're going to create a consumer.py. New file. Consumer. Alright, consumer.py. We're going to copy this, put it in there. Boom. Alright. File. Save. Comment from Twitch. Also personally not a fan of distributed systems. Yeah, distribution adds a lot of complexity. For sure. But sometimes you have to, the size of data or how quickly your data is coming in requires it. So at my last job in data science, I didn't use distributed systems at all. It was just all in BigQuery because the data was small. But before that, I was working with massive electronic health record data sets, and I had to use Spark for that. And when you do distributed data parsing, there's all these other considerations you have to make, like when do you sort, when do you combine. Having things distributed does make things a little bit more complicated for sure. Not filling this up. Alright, solar darkness, let's go. Alright, so we saved the consumer.py. Alright, produce events. Alright, so make the producer script executable and run it. Alright, so let's go back into here. Great comment. So it said, Mark, what have I said to your comment on 5G? Instead of the major purpose of allowing a higher throughput, it enables poor data compression to be good enough. Yo, that's a great call. That's a great comment. What I'm saying is definitely the positive side of things. There's definitely gonna, if there's a technology, people are gonna find a way to give you bad data. So I love that comment. So let's see, make the producer script executable and run. So let's see, ls, let's see what's available. We have consumer, producer, So let's run it. Okay, it looks like it ran. Do you by any chance know who Casey Moratori is? I unfortunately don't know who that is. Should I know who they are? If I should, I can definitely look them up on LinkedIn maybe, or Twitch. But tell me more. Okay. So produce invented topic, key J Smith. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we created our data producer. We sent it to our Kafka instance, which is on Docker. So let's go pull up Docker again. Cool. Awesome. Zookeeper is running. Broker. Let's go check out the broker. Cool. Adding data. Cool. Alright. So that's running. He's a programmer to follow. For the person in the chat, while working from home, are they on Twitch? Are they on LinkedIn or Twitter? Where are they focused from? They're on Twitch and YouTube. Okay, word. I gotta check that out. Yeah, I'm super new to streaming, so learning people in the space. Yo, bet. Thanks for sharing the link. I'll go make sure to save that real fast. That's sick. Thank you. No, 100% love programming stuff. Also want to see someone who I do know who streams a lot is Shashank. And so we did this project out in Utah in August, the Iron Analyst, where we competed on a data set to essentially get a data set and see if we can come with the best analysis in 2 hours, right? So Shashank actually did it while live streaming next to me, and he won. He did like 2 things of content at the same time. So look up Shashank. He is dope. He's a data engineer, comes from a data science background. He has really cool content. Okay, so let's see. So we got our producer set up for that. You should see the output that resembles this, which we do. Great. So let's consume the events now. So same thing. We're gonna make this executable for the consumer. Okay. And now we're gonna run getting started. Consumer. Waiting. Oh, cool. Consume event from topic. Okay, now it's waiting. Okay, cool. The consumer wait indefinitely for new events. You can kill the process, Control C. Okay, cool. Control C. Awesome. Cool. Let's go. All right. Yo, we finished it. Okay, cool. So essentially now we've done it through terminal and now we did it through Python. And so now let's go through the documentation and see like what is happening here. All right. So first thing is we have our Docker compose YAML file. And so remember going back to our conversation, let's go pull up the handy dandy, this thing right here. Going back to here. Awesome. So the first thing we need to do is we need to set up our Kafka cluster. And the way we do that is through Zookeeper client, right? Which is through Confluent, right? So we set up our Zookeeper client, and then in addition, we set up our brokers within the Kafka cluster for that. So it depends on Zookeeper, Kafka broker 1, ID 1, and get different IDs for that. Awesome. Different configurations for that. So that's what this YAML file is. We do document compose up to set up our Docker file to run our server or run our container. Excuse me, on there. Perfect. And then the next step is we then produce our data. So let me get rid of this. Delete. Trash. So now we have a producer. So let's go run through here, see what's happening. So we're importing this stuff for access in the terminal, but we have config parser and producer. So if name equals main, this allows us to implement in the terminal. Parse the command line. So parser equals argument parser. Let's go see what this is about. So argument parser. Object for parsing command line strings into Python objects, keywords, blah, 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 blah. So these are the different arguments for running in Docker. Let's see. Cool. So config file. Add argument config file, parser. Okay. Parse configuration, see GitHub. Let's check this out. Awesome. So configuration properties. So it tells us more about, let me make this smaller. All right. Okay, it's just a giant table of the configuration properties of how we configure our file. Okay, so something to check out later, but I'm not gonna go through that. All right, so make this bigger again. Come on. All right. Config parser. Let's see. Let's know what config parser is. Default interpolation set it option, config implementing interpolation. Okay, read defaults. So this is reading the configuration file. Okay. All right. Create the producer instance, producer config. So we have a config file. Producer equals producer. So what's the producer? Producer.py. Import producer. Cool. From .cmpl. Okay. Let's see. Produce data by selecting random values from the list. So topic for account for blank and range 10. User ID equals choice, user ID is choice. Okay, so we have a bunch of data right here that's going to be producing data. It chooses that randomly and it saves that. So block until the messages are sent. So producer.pull. Let's go find out what this is. So producer, where is producer at? Callback will trigger from pull consumer flush. Okay. Optional per message delivery callback triggered by pull or flush when messages have been successfully delivered or permanently failed delivery after restores. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Flush. So I think what's happening is pull for 1,000 messages and then flush. Okay, cool. So that's producer. Let's go back to here. And so now we have the consumer. Name is main, parser, parser configuration again. Create consumer instance, consumer, set up a callback to handle the reset flag. Subscribe to the topic. So the topic we want to subscribe to is purchases. Consumer.subscribe topic unassigned reset offset. Okay, cool. Pull for new messages from Kafka and print them. Try while true, message consumer.pull. If message is none, initial consumption may take up to blah blah blah. Print waiting. Okay, so when we saw that waiting instance, let's see. This right here. That's this function right here. Message error, format message error else. Extract the optional, print consumer event topic. Consume event topic. And that's what we're seeing right here. Cool. Awesome. So we now have the consumer, and now we have this right here. So default bootstrap localhost, Python group run, auto offset, auto reset earliest producer.pod consumer. Cool. So that was a quick start. I think this is probably a good stopping point right here. I'm probably going to do another stream now that I've kind of gone through this kind of hello world intro product setup of things and see how Kafka's going from one end to the other. I think probably the next step is for me to figure out, maybe get a stream of data from like API or something like that, and connect that to another source and see how I can get something going on consistently. But this is super fun. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. I hope to do more of this. I hope this maybe got you excited about Kafka, and more importantly showed you like when you're someone new trying to learn new technology, how can you approach it learning in the easiest way possible. This is how I kind of approached it. So it was super fun. I'm really excited I got the code to work and see things around the other side. Have a good rest of your day. Happy New Year's. All right, peace.